Hello everyone and welcome back. It's great to see so many familiar faces returning to the channel today. For those of you who are here for the first time, thank you for joining us. I'm your host, and you've landed on a channel dedicated to bringing you daily deep dives into some of the most gripping, perplexing, and tragic true crime cases ever recorded. Now, let's settle in, take a deep breath, and journey back into the mid-1990s in the heart of the United States, where a tragedy unfolds that leaves a seemingly heroic husband at the center of a mystery far darker than anyone could have imagined. This is the story of Mark Winger, one that begins with a terrifying encounter in a quiet suburban home and ends with the shocking revelation that not everything is as it first appears. It is August 29, 1995. The day begins humid and still, the summer heat pressing heavily against the small city of Springfield, Illinois. It's just past 4:30 in the afternoon, and the temperature sits stubbornly in the mid-80s, the sky streaked with hazy clouds that threaten neither rain nor relief. Inside a modest home on a quiet residential street, the soft hum of an air conditioner fights against the stifling air. In the front yard, a few leaves from an old oak drift lazily to the ground. Early casualties of a season soon to change. There's a sense of routine on this block. Neighbors know each other, wave hello across driveways, and keep a loose watch on the comings and goings of the street. It's the kind of place where people feel safe enough to leave their windows open, where the usual concern is making it to the grocery store before closing, rather than worrying about danger lurking at the doorstep. Inside the Winger home, Mark Winger's wife, Donnah Winger, has recently returned from a short trip. She's in her early 30s, with an open smile and warm eyes that crease at the corners when she laughs. Donnah is adjusting to the new phase of life as a wife and a new mother, her infant daughter sleeping soundly in another room. The sounds in the house right now are subdued. The low electronic hum of a baby monitor, the faint trickle of running water in the kitchen sink, and the distant laughter of neighbors enjoying the last days of summer out on their back patios. Donnah moves about her home, tidying up, making a mental list of errands for the following day, and preparing to welcome her husband home from work. Not long before, Donnah had been involved in a strange and unsettling incident with a shuttle driver, a man she barely knew. She mentioned to friends that the ride home from the airport made her uneasy, the driver's odd comments lingering in her mind. But as of late afternoon on this day, she believes that incident is behind her. She's left the airport discomfort in the past and is now focused on a quiet evening ahead. At approximately 4:50 p.m., neighbors hear a sharp, startling sound, something that might be a knock, a cry, or perhaps a shouted command. Within minutes, silence returns, replaced only by the distant hum of traffic on a nearby main road. By the time the first inkling of trouble begins to register, the household is about to be upended. The first sign that something is horribly wrong comes at just before 5 p.m., when a panicked call to emergency services crackles through police radio frequencies. A frantic male voice, later identified as Mark Winger, shouts that an intruder has attacked his wife and that he has just fired his own gun in desperate defense. Officers on patrol less than a mile away respond almost instantly. Police cruisers, sirens blaring, speed toward the Winger residence, red and blue lights reflecting on the manicured lawns and neat driveways of this otherwise peaceful neighborhood. By the time paramedics and officers step through the front door, they find a scene that appears tragically straightforward. Donnah Winger lies injured on the floor, her wounds severe and life-threatening. Nearby is another man, later identified as Roger Harrington, who also lies bleeding. Mark Winger, the husband, stands over them, shell-shocked, repeating a jumbled account. This man, Harrington, forced his way in and attacked Donnah. Mark, acting in what he calls self-defense, fired his handgun to stop the assault. The authorities attempt first aid, but it quickly becomes clear. Donnah is gone, her life cut short in a matter of moments. Harrington is barely clinging to consciousness and soon succumbs to his injuries as well. The first responders glance at one another, their faces grim. The story at this stage seems horrifically simple: a young mother murdered by an intruder, and a heroic husband who tried to save her. In those initial hours, friends and family of Donnah Winger learn of her death through frantic phone calls and hurried knocks at their doors. Many recall seeing her earlier that week walking around the house for the first time in years. No one in that store has ever forgotten the smile that was on Donnah Winger's face, smiling, carrying her baby girl, offering a friendly nod from across the street. Co-workers from the medical center where Donnah once worked remember her enthusiasm, her capacity for kindness, and her gentle spirit. In a community like Springfield, where people value their privacy but still look out for one another, this crime sends shockwaves of fear and sorrow. The Wingers were well-liked, polite, the kind of couple who attended neighborhood gatherings, potlucks, and church events. As evening settles, the first trickle of information hits the local radio stations and news broadcasts. A double shooting in a quiet suburb. 2 dead, 1 victim and the intruder who presumably caused her harm. The police confirm that the husband is cooperating. A follow-up press conference is scheduled. Behind closed doors, investigators begin cataloging every detail of the scene. They note the positions of the bodies, the location of the gun, and the state of the rooms. They gather accounts from neighbors who saw or heard anything unusual. At this early stage, everyone seems to accept the narrative provided by Mark Winger. A home invasion, a random act of violence by a troubled man who once made Donnah uncomfortable, culminating in a desperate but ultimately tragic act of self-defense. Donnah Winger's life begins humbly in the Midwest. Born in 1963 to a middle-class family, her childhood is a tapestry of warm family dinners, trips to local parks, and the occasional summer vacation to Wisconsin lakes or Missouri campgrounds. Growing up, she is known for her friendly demeanor and unwavering kindness. Neighbors remember a girl who helps carry groceries for elderly residents without being asked, who babysits the younger kids on the block for a few extra dollars and does so with a smile rather than obligation. Her parents, Sharon and Robert, instill in her the value of empathy and community, encouraging her to become involved in local volunteer programs from a young age. Donnah's childhood home is modest, 2 stories, white siding, a quiet backyard edged by maple trees. She grows up close to her siblings, sharing chores and laughter, forging bonds that will only strengthen over time. By the time Donnah is a teenager, she develops a keen interest in the medical field. She's fascinated by how the human body works and how doctors and nurses can save lives. Teachers at her high school remember her as a diligent student, someone who thrives in science classes and never hesitates to volunteer for group projects. She isn't the star athlete or the class president, but she's liked by nearly everyone. When she walks down the halls, people greet her warmly. There is something about her sincerity and authenticity that draws others in. She's the kind of person whose presence feels safe and reassuring. After high school, Donnah pursues a degree in medical imaging. She works hard, balancing part-time jobs to support herself financially. Classmates recall her as someone who studies late into the night, her textbooks spread out over her kitchen table. Professors remember a bright spark in her eyes whenever she learns something new about patient care or diagnostic techniques. When she finally graduates and starts working in a local medical center, her colleagues appreciate her diligence, her meticulous attention to detail, and the compassion she shows toward patients. It's not unusual for her to stop by a patient's bed just to chat and offer a comforting hand. This is the environment in which Donnah thrives, serving others, making them feel valued and seen. Over time, Donnah's career path becomes clear. She specializes in nuclear medicine technology, a complex field that requires precision, patience, and a steady hand. She works in local hospitals and medical facilities, building relationships not only with colleagues, but also with patients who remember her kindness long after their tests are completed. As she settles into her professional life, she begins to envision a future filled with growth and continued learning. One day she hopes to step into a more senior role, perhaps managing a department or guiding younger technologists. The future seems bright and boundless, full of possibility. Donnah's family remains a cornerstone of her life. Even after moving out of her childhood home, she keeps close contact with her parents and siblings. Phone calls happen multiple times a week. Family gatherings, holiday dinners, and birthdays are cherished traditions. There's a strong network of love and support that runs like a current through her life. In the months leading up to 1995, the Wingers celebrate the birth of Donnah and Mark's daughter, a joyful event that reinvigorates the entire family. Her parents adore their new granddaughter, and Donnah radiates pride and happiness as she steps into motherhood. The extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, are dotted across the Midwest, and news of Donnah's new family chapter spreads quickly through phone calls and letters. They share in her excitement, sending care packages, baby clothing, and well wishes. Her social life is equally fulfilling. Donnah never struggles to make friends, and she keeps a small, close-kin circle of people she trusts. Many know her from the hospital, where friendships form naturally during quiet shift breaks over coffee. Others are neighbors, drawn together by community events and shared interests. She participates in local charity runs, attends backyard barbecues, and supports community drives. She's someone who always finds the time, even when her schedule is full, to lend a helping hand. She's not overly outgoing or flashy, but steady and reliable, someone who can be counted on for a kind word or a thoughtful gesture. By the day of the incident, Donnah's life is on a promising trajectory. On that morning, August 29, 1995, the first hints of sunrise filter through the curtains of her bedroom. She rises early. There's an infant in the house now, and babies set their own schedule. Donnah tends to her daughter, smiling softly at the baby's coos. She warms a bottle, checks the time, and runs through her mental checklist: feedings, diaper changes, a morning walk around the block with the stroller if the weather isn't too oppressive. Mark has already left for work and the house is quiet. She prepares a light breakfast, yogurt and fresh fruit, eaten quickly while standing at the kitchen counter. She plans to meet a friend later at a nearby cafe. Just a casual catch-up, some talk about adjusting to motherhood, maybe exchanging tips on balancing work and family. As the morning progresses, Donnah picks out a comfortable outfit, loose-fitting, summery. She fusses over her daughter's tiny socks and a soft cotton onesie. By 9 a.m., she has already accomplished a great deal. The baby is fed, the dishes are washed, and she's made a quick phone call to her parents to share a small anecdote about the baby's new habit of giggling at ceiling fans. Her mother laughs and suggests it's a sign of a happy, curious child. Mid-morning, Donnah steps outside with the stroller. The air is thick with humidity, but there's a hint of a breeze. She walks around the block, exchanging nods and brief words with neighbors. She makes a mental note to pick up a few groceries that afternoon: milk, bread, fresh produce, so the family can have a proper dinner that evening. She doesn't notice anything unusual. The streets seem calm, the rhythm of life unchanged from any other late summer day. By noon, Donnah settles back at home, the baby naps, and she uses the quiet time to respond to a few personal letters and to look over some paperwork from the hospital. She's on maternity leave now, but she still keeps up with developments at her workplace. A colleague mentioned a new imaging technique during a phone call last week, and she has been meaning to read up on it. This is how Donnah spends her early afternoon. Learning, thinking ahead. She's considering returning to work part-time to ease the transition. Around 2 p.m., she snacks on a granola bar and some grapes, careful to stay hydrated in the heat. Donnah's friend calls at about 2:30 p.m. to confirm their meeting time. Donnah says she'll need to push it back slightly, maybe meet at 3:30 p.m. instead. There's a small errand to run first. She places her daughter in the car seat and drives to a pharmacy just a short distance away. Witnesses recall seeing her there, smiling politely, looking perfectly at ease as she picks up some baby items. A store clerk who recognizes her from previous visits mentions that Donnah seemed cheerful, commenting lightly on the heat and hoping for cooler weather soon. By 3:15 p.m., Donnah returns home. She decides to reschedule the cafe visit for another day, as the baby is getting fussy and the heat is draining. Instead, she calls her friend once more, apologizing, promising to catch up soon. Around 4 p.m. she's inside, the baby calm now, drifting in and out of light sleep. Donnah takes a moment to check the mailbox and then steps back inside, feeling the relief of air conditioning on her skin. Neighbors see her pass by the front window. She doesn't appear distressed or concerned, just a young mother going about an ordinary day. No one can know that, within the hour, a tragic confrontation will end her life. As the clock ticks toward the late afternoon, a series of events align with chilling precision. According to investigative records reconstructed later, the shuttle driver, Roger Harrington, whom Donnah had previously found unsettling, arrives at the Winger residence under circumstances still murky in these final moments. Some investigators believe He may have been lured there under a pretext, possibly a request to discuss the earlier airport ride. Others suggest that he comes on his own, still bothered by a complaint made against him. Regardless, at some point between 4:30 and 4:45 p.m., he's present at the winger's door. In that narrow window of time, Donnah's fate is sealed. Multiple witnesses place Donnah at home in that critical hour. Surveillance from a neighbor's security camera describes Donnah as coming out of her house on a rainy, dark morning. That tells the story better than most other memories. The only camera in a basement of the hotel photographing the front door was much less trained and low resolution, but still useful. Later shows a vehicle resembling Harrington's pulling up near the winger driveway shortly before the incident. Another camera, positioned across the street and used primarily to monitor a garage, picks up the faint silhouette of a man approaching the front door. Donnah makes no calls of alarm at this point. There's no scream audible on the footage, only the subtle change in the outline of figures moving within the home's windows. In the final minutes before the attack, Donnah likely stands near her front foyer or living room, possibly holding her daughter or having just put the baby down. She may have greeted Harrington, her demeanor polite but cautious. Records of her last phone call show she didn't contact anyone in that narrow time frame. No one receives a text, a page, or a phone call pleading for help. Then it happens. The confrontation turns violent. Moments later, Mark Winger calls 911. His voice crackles through the line with panic, shouting something about an intruder, about a man attacking Donnah. Responding officers rush to the scene, expecting chaos, and they find it. Within the first hour of the investigation, standard police procedure sets into motion. Yellow crime scene tape stretches across the Winger property. Uniformed officers direct neighbors back, trying to keep the area clear. Detectives arrive and begin their initial survey. The paramedics have already pronounced Donnah and Harrington dead. As investigators step into the front hallway, they notice the position of the bodies. Donnah lies on the floor with severe head injuries. Harrington is also down, gunshot wounds visible. Mark Winger stands nearby, visibly shaken. He recounts that he was in another part of the house, heard a commotion, and rushed in to find Harrington attacking Donnah. In fear for his wife's life, he says, he shot the intruder. The search for immediate evidence begins swiftly. Officers check for forced entry. None is obvious. A CSI team photographs the scene from every angle: the kitchen, the living room, the foyer, the position of the furniture. They bag and tag the murder weapon, a handgun belonging to Mark Winger, properly licensed. They note the lack of scattered belongings or signs of an extended struggle. Everything feels oddly contained. While some aspects could align with a sudden intrusion, other details raise quiet questions in the minds of seasoned detectives. Still, at this early juncture, the case seems to point toward a simple narrative. Harrington is the intruder, Donnah the victim, and Mark the hero who tried too late to save his wife. The community soon learns the victim's identity and the initial details of the crime. Local media pick up the story. In a small city like Springfield, the murder of a well-liked woman in her own home reverberates with horror and sorrow. Neighbors huddle on sidewalks, whispering the little they know. Journalists call the police department, hungry for more information. The first news segments air that very evening, reporting that a respected local mother and hospital employee has been killed in a violent home invasion. The public, offered no reason to doubt Mark's story, collectively sympathizes with him. He's lost his wife to a brutal crime. He appears devastated on camera when he later makes a brief statement, tears in his eyes, voice quavering as he expresses disbelief at what has happened. Donnah's family members find themselves thrust into a nightmare. They gather, support each other through tears and the numbness of shock. Friends drop off casseroles and flowers. The police assure them that everything possible is being done to make sense of this tragedy. No one suspects that a hidden layer of deception might lurk beneath the surface. Even as they grieve, they trust the official narrative. The community, too, grieves in its own way, holding candlelight vigils and prayer gatherings. At this point, the face of evil seems clear. A stranger who invaded their peaceful neighborhood and robbed it of an innocent life. When the morning sun rises on August 30, 1995, the investigation enters its next phase. Detectives follow established protocols. They interview Mark Winger thoroughly, capturing every detail of his story: where he was in the house, what he heard, how he retrieved the gun, how many shots he fired. They also search for evidence that might explain why Harrington came to the Winger home. A notation in Donnah's diary points to a concerning airport shuttle ride weeks before, where Harrington allegedly made inappropriate remarks. The police find that Harrington worked as a shuttle driver and had given Donnah a ride from the airport. The narrative seems consistent. Harrington, perhaps unstable, returned to harm Donnah. Mark's actions appear justified, and the police, at least initially, consider him a grieving husband who did what he had to do. Within the next week, Donnah Winger is laid to rest. The funeral is a heart-wrenching affair. Her parents speak softly through tears, her siblings too overcome to offer more than a few words. Mark Winger stands near the casket, head bowed. The community turns out in large numbers, offering condolences, leaving flowers and cards, and asking themselves how something so terrible could happen in such a quiet place. Yet, as the weeks turn into months, small inconsistencies begin to emerge. Investigators re-examine the evidence, going beyond the initial narrative. They replay Mark's 911 call and analyze the tone and timing of his statements. They review the trajectory of the bullets and the pattern of the blood spatter. Perhaps it's an investigator's intuition, or maybe a forensic detail that doesn't fit neatly into the official story. Slowly, a nagging suspicion grows. Could Mark Winger be more than just a grieving widower? As the investigation deepens, authorities start looking into Mark's background. He's an engineer at a local nuclear power facility, stable employment, respected by colleagues. He met Donnah through mutual friends. Their marriage seemed happy, yet no relationship is perfect. Investigators learn he took out a life insurance policy on Donnah. They find subtle tensions, murmurs of discontent. Then there's another detail: the presence of a nanny who worked with the family. Rumors start swirling about an affair. Reporters catch wind of the growing uncertainty. The story hits local television. Police re-examining a closed case hints that not everything is as it appeared. The public mood shifts. People who once viewed Mark as a tragic hero now have questions. Donnah's family struggles to comprehend the implications. Could Mark have staged the crime scene? Could he have invited Harrington to the home, set up an ambush, and killed two people to rid himself of a marriage he no longer wanted? The turning point comes when a key piece of evidence surfaces. Investigators studying the positions of the bodies realize that the attack could not have unfolded the way Mark described. Ballistics, blood spatter analysis, and a deeper look at Harrington's known movements that day raise the possibility that Harrington may have been lured to the house under false pretenses. It's no longer a simple home invasion. Instead, it looks more like a carefully orchestrated murder plot, designed to look like self-defense. Suddenly, Mark Winger shifts from victim to suspect, and the investigation ramps up with renewed intensity. The deep dive into digital records, paper trails, and eyewitness accounts pays off. Detectives uncover that Harrington was invited by Mark Winger to discuss a supposed complaint. Phone records show calls made by Mark to Harrington just hours before the shooting. As they sift through Mark's financial records, they find that Donnah's life insurance policy, worth a substantial amount, was recently updated. Witnesses mention that Mark's relationship with Donnah appeared strained after the baby's birth. There are suggestions that he wanted freedom, maybe to be with another woman, maybe for financial gain. This new evidence leads to a re-interviewing of Mark's associates. A woman who once worked as a nanny for the Wingers comes forward, tearfully recounting an affair with Mark. She testifies that he complained about Donnah, expressing dissatisfaction with the marriage. They planned a future together, one that did not include Donnah. The honeymoon image the community once had of the Winger marriage shatters. As the police build their case, they consult forensic experts and psychologists who help piece together Mark's possible motive. They conclude that he orchestrated the entire crime. He made contact with Harrington, lured him to the home, and killed him along with Donnah in a staged scenario meant to paint himself as a hero. It's a scheme both chilling in its complexity and horrifying in its callousness. Eventually, in late 1999, years after the initial tragedy, the authorities have enough evidence to charge Mark Winger with murder. The arrest comes as a shock to the community and to those who initially viewed him as a righteous protector. The booking process is methodical. He's fingerprinted, photographed, and placed into custody. Early court hearings revealed the prosecution's case. Mark Winger was never the hero. He was, they say, the mastermind of a cruel plot to gain financial freedom and remove the obstacles in his life. The trial that follows is a tense and highly publicized affair. Attorneys from both sides present their versions of the story. The prosecution relies heavily on forensic evidence and the testimony of the nanny and other key witnesses. They show how the blood evidence contradicts Mark's version of events, how phone records place him as the architect of Harrington's arrival, and how his financial motives align perfectly with Donnah's death. The defense tries to discredit witnesses and poke holes in the forensic analysis, but the tide of evidence is overwhelming. In court, jurors listen to testimony after testimony. Expert witnesses in blood spatter analysis detail how the scene could not have been a spontaneous struggle. Medical examiners explain the victim's injuries and the order in which they likely occurred. Friends of Donnah tearfully recall her character, her hopes, her dreams, and the happiness she found in motherhood. The nanny, visibly shaken, recounts Mark's promises of a future without Donnah. Mark himself appears stoic for much of the trial, offering a cool demeanor that many find unsettling. The media covers every minute detail and the public follows the case religiously. The shocking twist that the hero husband is actually the villain fascinates and horrifies them in equal measure. People debate in coffee shops, over dinner tables, and on local call-in radio shows. It's as if the entire community is trying to process how they were misled by Mark's initial performance of grief and trauma. After weeks of testimony and exhaustive evidence presentation, the jury retreats to deliberate. The tension is thick as everyone waits. Eventually they return with a verdict, guilty of first-degree murder. The sentencing phase follows, and Mark Winger receives a life sentence without the possibility of parole. As the judge pronounces the punishment, Donnah's family weeps in the gallery. Justice, they say later, is bittersweet. Nothing can bring Donnah back, but the truth is known and the man responsible can no longer harm anyone else. In the aftermath of the trial, Donnah's family struggles to rebuild their lives. They must come to terms not only with her loss, but with the betrayal woven into her death. They find solace in each other, in their memories of Donnah's kindness, warmth, and gentle spirit. They set up a scholarship fund in her name, dedicated to supporting students who want to pursue a career in medical imaging, ensuring that Donnah's legacy of caring for others lives on. The community grapples with the shock for years. Neighbors who once believed wholeheartedly in Mark's innocence find it hard to trust their instincts again. Some join local victim support groups, becoming advocates for more thorough investigations and improved victim assistance services. The local police department, reflecting on the case, updates training procedures and invests in better forensic tools. The incident leads to policy considerations at the state level, perhaps strengthening oversight on who can carry firearms, or introducing more extensive background checks and psychological evaluations for certain sensitive roles. Over time, the case becomes a cautionary tale. True crime programs examine it from every angle, using it as an example of how first impressions can deceive. It teaches investigators, reporters, and the general public to look more closely, question more openly, and never accept the surface narrative without scrutiny. Universities use the case in criminology courses to highlight the importance of forensics and the need for a careful, methodical approach to homicide investigations. Even as years pass, Donnah's family and friends gather periodically to remember her, lighting candles, sharing stories about her kindness, and maintaining a small memorial at her gravesite. The community occasionally organizes a charity run in her name, raising funds for causes she cared about. Each time, they reflect on her life, not just her tragic death, ensuring that the memory of her warmth and integrity will outlast the infamy of the crime that claimed her life. In retrospect, the Mark Winger case stands as a reminder that evil can wear a charming face, that sometimes the victimizer hides behind the mask of a victim, and that the truth can remain buried until diligent, patient investigators unearth it. The initial narrative, so convincing at the start, collapses under the weight of evidence and careful forensic analysis. This story leaves all who hear it with a lingering sense of unease. How could a husband do this to his wife? How could a man murder not once but twice and initially walk away as a hero in the eyes of the community? These questions have no comforting answers, only hard lessons. For now, the community moves forward carrying Donnah's memory in their hearts, determined to ensure that her life, her genuine kindness, her desire to help others, remains her true legacy. Thank you for watching and listening to the story of the Mark Winger case. It's a chilling example of how appearances can mislead, and how justice, though sometimes delayed, can still prevail. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime stories. Let me know in the comments what you think of this case, and whether you'd like to explore similar stories where initial assumptions were turned upside down by persistent investigative work. And if you found this story haunting, you might also want to check out other cases on this channel involving hidden motives and complex conspiracies. As always, stay safe, stay curious, and we'll see you tomorrow for another case that invites us to look deeper than the surface.